Get started.
All right. So today we are going to be talking about a really ambitious energy infrastructure project in the Mediterranean, which is the Eurasia Interconnector project. So this project will basically create a submarine electricity cable linking Israel, Cyprus, and Greece, specifically connecting to Crete and then the Greek mainland, and then ultimately integrating these countries into the European electricity grid. So the submarine cable system is expected to be around 1,200 to around 1,500 kilometers, making it the longest and deepest submarine power cable in the world, with segments that are up to 3,000 meters below the Mediterranean Sea. The capacity of the project is aiming to transmit 1,000 megawatts in the initial phase and increase to around 2,000 megawatts, which would be enough to supply over 3 million households. The aim of the project is to put converter stations in Israel, Cyprus, and Crete in order to back, yeah, still. Um, Basically to convert electricity from DC to AC for local grids, enabling a two-way transfer of electricity. In regards of production, the project does not produce or extract electricity. It only acts as a transmission highway. The electricity sent through the interconnected is generated by power plants. They can be either renewable or conventional sources within Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. Next, we're going to be talking about the direct benefits. So while the project is a significant investment, it's also aligned with the scale and complexity of comparable international interconnectors. First, it will end the energy isolation of Cyprus by physically connecting it to the European Union electricity grid for the first time ever. It would also enhance energy security for all participating countries by enabling a multi-directional energy flow, which would allow countries to be more flexible and to support one another during demand peaks or supply shortages. Another big benefit is the increased integration of renewable energy sources by stabilizing the grid across regions and facilitating more consistent use of solar and wind energy. Especially this is for areas that with very high renewable energy potential. And the total economic and environmental benefits are estimated to reach around 10 billion euros over time. And finally, the project could lead to significant carbon emission savings, with reductions up to 6,800 kilotons of CO2 per year, depending on the renewable energy scenario. Next, the indirect benefits. So firstly, it will assist the EU in achieving its broader energy objectives, including improved connectivity, market integration, and energy diversification. Next, the construction, operation, and support services tied to the project are expected to create jobs around the region, which would stimulate local economies and offer more long-term employment opportunities. Thirdly, the project will help strengthen diplomatic and economic ties between the EU and Israel, which could reinforce cooperation and shared strategic interests. It will also increase the region's attractiveness for future investments, particularly more in the renewable energy and smart grid technologies. And lastly, the project promotes technological transfer and skill development, allowing the countries to build capacity in advanced energy systems and infrastructure management.
Okay, so now a little bit on the risk mitigation and some of the main challenges from the project. So firstly, the rising costs, whether it's due from other reasons like inflation or other global conflicts. Because it's such a long project, there's a lot of interruptions and things that might cause the rising costs. Also, uncertainty with the private investor. It's not like when they invest, it's like a done deal. You have to constantly kind of make sure that they're holding their end of the bargain. Technical complexity, because it's the lowest in-depth interconnector ever, so that cause some complexity and challenges. And lastly, geopolitical tensions in Turkey over the project. Turkey has a lot of dismay in this project because it really boosts Israel as well as Cyprus and Greece, and they're being left out as they see it. So some of the mitigations we can do to help with these challenges. Firstly, to secure more EU funding and attract new and diverse investors to help to make sure that all the funding is there. And with that, maintaining transparency with the investors, using strong legal frameworks and long-term contracts for revenue security, employ contingency funding and budget, and then lastly, multilateral diplomatic conversations with the EU as a mediator in terms of making sure that Turkey doesn't go beyond what it's allowed to do. It's been seen in Cyprus's waters, international waters, which they are not allowed to do. So having EU as a mediator will help that. So looking at the financial model, so how they're getting the finances to support this project, it's a combination of public grants, sponsored equity, and project debt. Funding is non-recourse, which is loans repaid from future project revenues, not from company balance sheets. And then lastly, transmission fees from electricity users will pay the debt over time. So directly, the financing sources, 25%, 24% is going to be from the EU connecting facilities grants. This also includes help from the European Investment Bank. Um, Secondly, additional EU public funds. This is more, there's a lot of the EU has a lot of reasons to do this to help with their goals regarding energy and renewable energies and improving the infrastructure for the transmission of renewable energies. Also, the Euro-Asia Interconnector, they're an LTD. So from sponsors and other areas, they're able to raise their own money to support the project. And then lastly, export credit, state guarantees, and project loans are the main contributor to the project. So learning from other global projects to help to make this project better. So these are three projects that we looked at into, that we looked in comparing in terms of the financial modeling, types, areas in which, whether it's the submarine cable or the onshore transmission systems, to compare and to get a better idea on how the Euro-Asia finances will come into play. So because with that and comparing what we did was we compared the ratios of most of the different areas in which uh, requires charge, whether it's submarine cables, other costs, which is legal stuff, onshore, and then converter stations. So based on the ratios from the forgetting the name of it, the Sweden-Lithuania line and the UK, the other line, they spent on average 56% on their submarine cables, 26.3% on their converter stations, 7.1% on onshore, connecting from the submarine to the converter station to supply that energy. And then, as I mentioned, 10% on average were the other miscellaneous costs from risk management, hiring engineers, project developers, etc., all like the extra um, things. So why this structure? So it spreads the financial risk across multiple partners and not just on one, which is important over a long-term project. Secondly, EU grants lower costs and encourage private sector investment. When private sectors see that the EU is willing to pay their share, it makes it the other private sector is more willing to contribute to the project because I think they also would see the potential in it. Third, the project finance aligns with revenue flow over project the lifetime, which is about 20 to 30 years. And lastly, it attracts global investors and anchor bankability. And the global investors is really important because it also boosts the local economies of Israel, Cyprus, and Greece having foreign direct investment assisting with the project. And that is it.